Got Mike Kaye here from the Charlotte Observer. We're both here at the East and West Shrine game. Definitely seen a lot of prospects that the Carolina Panthers could draft in 2025 NFL Draft. Mike, how you feeling so far today, man?
Cold. But I'm feeling good, man. It's been a long week, but a lot of information in this here notebook, and excited about kind of getting back into the draft process. I'm not covering any coaching searches or GM searches for the first time since I've been here, since I've been in Charlotte, so that's been fun.
All right. So today is, last practice was on Tuesday, and we have game on Thursday. Just, what have you seen? What are a couple of prospects that really have caught your eye on the East and West teams going, starting from practice on Saturday leading up till Tuesday?
Well, I was kind of disappointed on Tuesday to see Ahmed Hassanin from Boise State not practicing. But then again, he's put together like a great workload in the first 3 days. I took down some notes. Eric Gregory from Arkansas has been really good. Jordan Phillips from Maryland's really stood out. I think he's impressed a lot of people just in talking to scouts and media members. Max Brosmer, the quarterback from Minnesota, has raised his stock significantly in my eyes, as well as the draft community's eyes and scouts in attendance. LeJontay Wester, while Shadur and Shiloh are the talk of the town, I mean, he's been the Colorado player that's been making plays. And then I'd say Kobe Bryant from Kansas has been really, really good. On Tuesday, Noel Williams entered the frame and just had an awesome session, shutting down Juice Wells from Ole Miss. But it's been a good collection of talent.
Yes, sir, man. So I was here on Sunday along with you, and we saw a lot of Panther scouts out here. If I'm not mistaken, I saw 11. Does that mean something to you? Were you surprised that we had that many scouts out here? I do know Dan Morgan was out here as well. With 11 scouts out here, how do you feel? Does that show that they're really intrigued on fixated on bowl games or doing pro days more?
So there were actually more than a dozen representatives.
Correct.
And what I would say is when you have the head of analytics out here, when you have the head of college scouting, when you have the GM here, you're really taking the detailed steps to get better in the way your draft process is. And last year, 6 of their 7 draft picks went to All-Star games, the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl. They also got Jalen Coker from the Shrine Bowl, Jack Plummer, Damani Richardson. So they've seen the fruit of the labor of coming to these All-Star games, not just going to one, but going to both, and having a lot of guys interview here because you save time and you save steps at the combine. And if guys aren't invited to the combine, you've already got them in your notebook. You've already recorded their interviews. You know what type of interview they are. And talking with Dan told the Observer that, he wants to make sure that the passion meets the product. And I think that that's really important for them, especially as they try to get those dogs that they're looking for.
Correct. So we all know we have the 8th pick right now going to the draft. What is your mindset, or what are you hearing that you can't speak on what we're possibly going to do? I know a lot of people on defense. We know Ted, the wide receiver, everybody's saying that, if he falls, depends on what we do in free agency, will we draft him at 8? But what are you thinking we'll do at 8 right now?
Well, I think from the Panthers' perspective, they just became the 4th team in NFL history to allow 3,000 rushing yards. They were at the bottom of the league in several categories. They allowed the most points ever. So it's in team history, and so it's like, go to the defense, right? I think it depends, though, like you said, on free agency. I do expect them to be aggressive, but as Dan Morgan told me, they're open to double dipping. I think you're looking at a front 7 player. The only issue is who that front 7 player will be. They're very lucky in that they have a lot of holes to fill, so taking an inside linebacker, an outside linebacker, or a nose tackle, or a 4 technique makes sense. Even a safety, their entire safety room is basically
just Damani Richardson now.
Yeah. Outside of Richardson is heading towards free agency. And so what I would say is keep an eye on Mason Graham from Michigan. I think he is the absolute slam dunk option for them. Then again, you have the Jets and the Jaguars, who both need interior defensive linemen, and they could look to grab it beforehand. They're above them. With Ted McMillan, been kind of hearing that he might not be as fast as he looks on film. We'll see how he tests. If he drops, maybe you like him and you don't care about the speed. You already have some guys who are playmakers who have some speed on the roster. But I think, front seven is really where they're probably going to go as of right now.
All right, two more, and I appreciate you, Mike. So,
Sure.
With free agency, how do you think we'll attack it? I know you talked to Dan. I've talked to Dan. I do think it will be another aggressive attack on, trying to fix the defense. But how are you thinking we'll address or attack free agency in 2025?
So I think they're going to be aggressive, as Dan said. I think you're going to see a pretty big exodus from the internal free agents. I do think, ideally they'd like to get Mike Jackson back. He makes a lot of sense at corner. I also don't think he's going to be a hefty contract. I think center's probably handled internally. Obviously, Brady Christensen and Austin Corbett are headed to unrestricted free agency. Cade Mays is a restricted free agent, but everything I've heard is they really like what they have in Cade Mays. I also think Austin Corbett really wants to be back. So maybe you can get Cade Mays and Austin Corbett for the price of a Brady Christensen on the open market. And then I think they're going to be aggressive with edge. I think they're going to be aggressive with the defensive line. I don't expect them to be aggressive at wide receiver. But, if a guy's market kind of drops or goes under expectation, maybe they dip their foot in the sand or the water or whatever you want to say it, and try to make a bargain deal with a guy who wants to maybe up his market inside a one-year deal. I think they feel pretty good about where they're at offensively. They do have to figure out tight end. Tommy Tremble's a free agent. Jatavian Sanders had kind of an up and down first year. Same with Xavier Legette, but I think they feel much better where they're at on offense than they are on defense, and thus I think you'll see a pretty comparable switch from offense to defense in consecutive off seasons.
Got you. Then last question. The optimism and the Panther fan base in 2025 is up.
Sure.
I think with Bryce, the last 10 games, that last game in Atlanta, I think the fans really saw the offense click. The defense, how we feel about it. But going into 2025, how are you feeling as a fan, as a beat writer for the team going into 2025?
Well, I'm just a beat writer. So
I know that, but look, you'll say a beat writer, but we all got an opinion on it.
Right. I think as a football observer, I would say I think the optimism is well placed. I think the expectation is that they will take another leap. Look, they more than 2 times their win total from the year before. I think there's going to be pressure now to do the same the next year. Can you get 10 wins? Because that'll win you probably the NFC North, NFC South. And then, when you look at it from the perspective of where they can go from here, figuring out the quarterback position is really the name of the game and putting your foot in the door, and from there you can upgrade the defense and the offense and what have you and build around that. I think Canales has built a very good culture. All the feedback I've gotten from people in and around the building has been great, and so
Correct.
I think the optimism is really sharp.
All right, I appreciate it, Mike.
Sure.